most of you would realize on the program I'm slated to speak a little later down, but the Minister and Chairman, Honorable Hector, he said to me that he's a more mid-order batsman than me, so I should speak first. Mr. Chairman, I wish to adopt the protocol that you would have so ably established as Master of Ceremonies, the Venerable Steve Manners, except of course to say a special welcome to the specially invited guests and the residents of this Cherry Gardens housing development. When I was given the task of managing the NHLDC, after having sat down with the chairman, the Honorable Roberto Hector, and the chief himself, the Premier Joseph Parry, I immediately realized that the job would not be a simple walk in the park. Based on the demands they laid out and the contents of the people's agenda, which were going to be the governing force for my tenureship, I realized quickly that for me to keep this job, that performance would matter. However, that phrase became even clearer to me when in June 2008, the loan to do this project was approved by the good people at the Kitts-Nevis Social Security Board. And I ask that you give them a round of applause. And the reality to this, the largest housing development in the Federation of Kitts-Nevis would have to be translated from plan to actual product. And of course, that was facilitated mainly by the good folks again at the Social Security Board. I said to myself, self, you have to lean on God even more than you ever did before. Self, you have to be exposed to a lot of advices, counsel from a lot of different people in all sorts of fields. Self, you may have to summon all your energies. Self, is important that you get the best division contractors and skilled people to work on this project. Self, there will be times when you have to face complaints and even take some cussing. But self, you cannot fail the good people of Nevis. You cannot fail the chairman, the Honorable Roberto Hector. You cannot fail Premier Parry. You cannot fail the Nevis Reformation Party because, again, performance matters. I want to speak to you briefly on 4 main points: the product, the performers, the promise, and the projections. The product, it is important before I continue to give some information regarding the product that is Cherry Gardens. The Cherry Gardens housing development consists of 107 completed homes, meticulously laid out, roads, curb, electricity, water, and appropriate recreation and entertainment facilities. This development, in its first stage, consumed some 20 acres of land with 7 different home designs ranging from 750 to 1,300 square feet. Each design is named, and so too are the 6,000 feet of road that hug them. In this development, we have tried to accommodate different pockets with various 2- and 3-bedroom designs at different costs. All homes come fully tiled with cupboards and are painted within and without. It is important to note, though, that since under the darkness and before 2006, people were given homes that were untiled, without cupboards, without windows that would afford you poor or little ventilation if closed. Thank God for the sunshine, as the people have now completed homes with cupboards, tiles, fully painted, and they can see the glorious sunshine coming through the windows of the new homes that have been changed. There is a playfield, a multi-purpose court, and 4 permanent concession stands. These are put in place, unlike other housing developments, to ensure that there is some recreational and entertainment concept with it. This is constructive because it gives the residents the appropriate green space and recreational aspect that they desire. This was one of the sticking points of my board because we could not simply and irresponsibly, like others in the darkness, provide housing with no recreational aspect. Better has come for Nivisions, and we all should be proud. The entire development started in 2000 and has cost the corporation approximately $25 million, while developing 107 homes and employing in excess of 500 persons from concept to construction and completion. Let's go to my performers, my next point. As I mentioned earlier, performance does matter, but I hasten to add that what we see here is not my performance. It is the performance of many hardworking members of the NHLDC, the board of the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation, the cabinet of the Nevis Island Administration, led by the Honorable Joseph Parry, and other independent contractors hired by the NHLDC. I have put in my 2 cents, but those are the persons who have contributed the rest 98 cents to make this dollar. As I called you out, I encourage you to stand and take a bow. I won't be able to mention everyone by name at this point in time, but they are important performers that need to be mentioned. These persons are primarily responsible for the wonderful designs that you see here today, and those individuals are George Hunkins of Geo Designs and Curtis Liban. The man who surveyed and laid out this project, Mr. Simeon Hill. I would not name all the contractors and persons who would have been involved in the construction, but if there are any contractors here, plumbers, cabinet makers, you could take a bow as well. My good friend and fellow Brownhillian, Vernell Powell, who is representing the Kitts-Nevis Social Security Board, the institution that would have made all this possible, take a bow, please. Yes, thank you. The Nevis Cooperative Credit Union, they would have stood by us through the thick and thin, and I would wish for them to take a bow as well. Other companies like TDC, Beyond Home, SL Hosfords, the other financial institutions including Bank of Nevis, First Caribbean International Bank, Scotiabank, and RBTT. For your representative, I would wish that you take a bow as well. To the hardworking staff and board members of the NHLDC, I cannot forget them, and most of them are busy assisting here this evening, but I would wish for you to give them a round of applause. The area representative, he's a man of great intestinal fortitude. The Honorable Hensley Daniel, he would have been here many times making sure that we would have dot all the I's and cross all the T. The Honorable Hensley Daniel, take a bow, please. My chairman, the Honorable Roberto Hector, the man who has stood beside me all the time, thick and thin, take a bow. And of course, the man who would be giving the feature address and closing out the batting order, the Honorable Joseph Parry, take a bow. You all have performed. You are the ones that have made this possible. You are the ones that help to bear the mantra that, yes, performance matters. My third point, and bear with me, might be a little long, but the housing development brings with it tremendous promise. Housing, we believe, is the social right of every human being. We believe firmly that once residents continue to cherish this project, that it will stand as a beacon for many years to come. Cherry Gardens is not a mere housing project. In fact, to say that is an embarrassment to the performance that I have just mentioned. The promise of Cherry Garden means that we are building people, not projects. The promise of Cherry Garden suggests that we are changing lives, not landscapes. The promise of Cherry Garden means that we are not merely engineering a development, but we are trying to create a society of Nivisians who could engender the familial environment that our communities of all would be like. We are performing and not spreading propaganda. Against anything that has promise, they are the Sanballats and Tobias of the Bible days, who never wanted the project to become a reality. In Sanballats and Tobias, I simply mean the haters who have hated everything about the product that is Cherry Garden, the performers that have made Cherry Gardens possible, and the promise that is Cherry Garden. Instead of being responsible and praising the government and you, the homeowners, on the socio-economic importance of Cherry Garden, they have resorted to hatred and propaganda. To you, the homeowners, tell the haters this, that any valuation of these homes would show that these homes range in value and in excessive value between $35,000 to $75,000, depending on the size and the time. More than the actual cost, of course, than what it was bought for. Tell them that the houses built under the darkness were built without tiles nor cupboards. But these are the sunshine days, the days when houses are completed. Tell them that if you are to rent a house, that the valuers would say that you would make a healthy profit off of the same mortgage payments. Give them the facts and expose their falseness and foolish talking. I would move now to the projections. At the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation, we believe in the Chinese concept of Kaizen. We speak to continuous improvement. We cannot now slacken our riding because we have built Cherry Gardens. Cherry Gardens must now be our benchmark for excellence moving forward. It is imperative that we underscore the need to review local housing needs and thereafter plan and implement certain strategies to not only making housing more affordable, but also to satisfy the ever-changing demand and taste. In order to become more cost-effective, we have to consider the ever-changing, increasing demand for land space, a natural factor that will increase the cost of procurement. When we need to lax some of the inherited regulatory barriers, which in turn will facilitate greater flexibility in housing development. The dwindling supply and high cost of developable land, coupled with the increasing cost of labor and material, have contributed significantly in the development costs for persons attempting to climb and escape from the abyss of poverty. Yet, here in Nevis, the NRP-led administration has been able to service that demand, and to an admirable extent. The challenges are there, but it's imperative that we meet them head-on and conquer them. Obstacles don't matter. Excuses about these obstacles don't matter. Performance matters. So on one still must be or will. In the new year, we will be doing a number of developments we'll be continuing one in the Craddock Road region, the Harborview development. We'll be doing new development in the Cotton Ground and the Jessup area, and those would be the first development in the parish of St. Thomas's. We would also be doing developments in Gingerland, and we'll be doing another development in the Ghana's Nisbett estate area. We'd want the people of this area to cherish the facility as their own, treat it well. I have already been in contact with the Ministry of Youth and Sport and other key persons in the area to promote summer sports program, Boy Scout health clinic, and health clinics to address the whole man. We urge you to apply, and we will continue to go over and beyond to address your need. In closing, let me remind you that Cherry Gardens is a reality because of the performers all around Nevis who have given their labor, their advice, and their sweat to see this a reality. Let me remind you not to allow the haters to trample on the promise that is Cherry Garden. For the promise of Cherry Garden has, for today's generation and for generations to come, would be the hallmark, an example set by an administration that has cared and has delivered. It is clear for all to see that we have produced an excellent development. Let me assure you that we at the NHLDC will keep pressing on, because at the NHLDC we know that performance matters. Thank you.